Well, to my mind, gold is not an investment so much as it is insurance. So when you take out, say, fire insurance, you shouldn't be disappointed that the next day the house doesn't burn down. You should be happy. But a lot of people, when they buy gold, they think that they want to cash in next day. They want to get rich quick. And that doesn't work, because that would mean that you insure your house and you pray that your house should burn down, because then the insurance company will give you a nice sum of money. So that there's a difference between insurance and investment. To my mind, gold is an insurance, because we are going into a very dangerous situation, that the probability of the house burning down is very high, and therefore we need insurance. But we should be happy if it doesn't happen. The house doesn't burn down. We survive. And that's my explanation. You don't give up your insurance just because you think that now the probability of the house burning down is lower. You hang on to the insurance and still hope that you won't need it. It's a different mentality. Well, absolutely, civil war is possible. And the way it would come about is we have deflation. We are going into a depression. Prices fall. Not inflation, it's deflation, which is the big trouble. And that's why they print money, because they think that they can turn it into inflation, so prices will rise again. But no matter how much money they print, prices are falling. And this means that firms go bankrupt. They have to lay off people. Unemployment goes up. There'll be more and more unemployed who cannot feed their family. And these people will not stand idle. They will group together and start fighting back. And there will be big trouble in cities. There will be clashes between the police and unemployed people. And it could just snowball into a civil war. That's entirely possible. So now you said you had one question, but you had two, because the other half of the question was, what can you do to survive? Okay. Well, we started out with gold as insurance. But it would be dangerous to use gold to buy food. And therefore you need silver, which is not so dangerous to show. If you don't get food for paper money, then you pull out old or new silver coins and buy your food with silver. Gold is too dangerous. They may kill you for your gold if you show that you have it. So I would say the next thing you must have is silver coins. But even paper money is better than nothing, because bank accounts are no good. They'll lose value first. So if you start hoarding dollar bills or euro notes, especially small denomination, like 20 euros or $20 bills, you see, that will be helpful. And if you have an X on the euro note, you know what it means? There is the serial number, right? And it starts with a letter. And some is U, some is X, and there are others. Now, I think what X means is that it was issued, or it's a liability of the Bundesbank of Germany. Okay? But if it's, say, K, I'm just guessing, then it means it was issued by the Greek central bank. So a lot of people are sorting out euro notes and saving the ones with X and returning the rest to the bank, and then keep doing that. I just heard that. I'm not sure I'm sure it's going on, but I don't know to what extent is happening. But I can predict that it will be more and more that people sort out the banknotes and keep the ones with the X because they trust it more.
I never heard of that.
Never heard that?
No, no, no.
But
I thought the euros were the euros and it was
no, it is going on, but it will be more and more prevalent, and they are trying to hide the fact that the X means that it was issued by Germany and the K was issued by Greece. They want you to believe that one banknote is as good as another. But in fact, in law, this is not the case, because some are liabilities of Germany and some others are liabilities of, say, Greece or another country. So, in addition to these protections that you have money, gold, silver, even paper money you should have access to agricultural land, preferably own it, away from the city, and if necessary, grow your own food, because that will be a problem. Food supplies could be disrupted, not because the food is not there, but the whole system, the market breaks down, and there will be no access. But if you have agricultural land, then you get away from the city. That's for personal safety. And in addition, if the worst comes to worst, you can grow your own food. So I would say France is a wonderful country. It has good land, good possibilities. But if you lived in the city all your life and you have no way of escaping, then you might be hurt when the civil war comes. In the country, it will be safer, and as I say, you will be able to grow your own food if that's what is coming, food shortages. I think what is happening right now is that people are escaping from electronic money. the banks wouldn't be in trouble at all. And you know, all banks in all over the world, the banks are in trouble. You know that. And that's because people instinctively don't trust electronic money. They want to have the banknotes, even though the banknotes are losing value, but you can touch them, you can fold them, you can put them in your pocket. But electronic money, you can't touch them, you can't fold them, you can't put them in your money in your pocket. So people say, "No, that's really uh, a dream."
Okay. According to you, it won't work.
It is not working.
It is
That's
not
what
working.
is happening right now. The banks would be in a very strong position if people believed in electronic money. The banks wouldn't
They are
have
trying.
any difficulty.
Yeah, they're trying. They are trying to sell this idea to the public.
But it's failing, and it's obvious. It's obvious. You don't have to uh, prove this. You just have to open your eyes and see what's going on. The banks are wobbly. They are in trouble, and government is pumping money into them, and that doesn't help. And why? Because all this money exists in electronic forms. It's a blip on the screen of your computer. And people don't buy that. They don't believe in it. Now, I tell you something. If all the dollars which exist in the world would have to be presented in paper form, in printed bill, that would be physically impossible to do except over a year's time or something. So in other words, if everybody is demanding paper banknotes from the banks would go out of business overnight. There's no way they can print the money that fast physically. There's no way. I mean, you can do the calculation and just compare the facilities, the printing facilities which they have, and the amount of money they create in electronic forms. There's no way to come up with that much printed money. What I'm suggesting to you is that during the French Revolution, when they printed the assignats and the mandats, there was a limit how fast they could do that, because they needed the printers, they needed the paper, they needed ink, and they had to distribute it, you see. Now today this is no problem. They don't need paper, they don't need ink, and they just with a click of the mouse, they can create all this money. And that's the difference. In other words, we are much worse off today than we were during the assignats and the mandats of the French Revolution, which of course collapsed. So this is going to collapse just as well. Oh, I'm absolutely convinced that if the gold standard had been retained, then this catastrophic situation which we have right now wouldn't have occurred. And you just have to look at any chart, such as price rises, interest rate volatility, or um, almost anything, wages and so on. They went haywire in 1971. It's crying out that some big bang occurred in 1970. Even if you didn't know anything about the United States to default on its gold obligations, if you didn't know that, the charts would cry out for explanation. Just what's happening? It looks like a disaster because these curves are exponential, like the price movements. And economists are not allowed to say that the reason is that the United States has defaulted on its gold obligation. So they have to say it's the gnomes of Zurich. This is a concept that there are some bankers in Zurich who are conspiring against the dollar, or the oil sheiks, the rich Arabs who run the oil wells and so on, or the sunspots, or some things which are not under our control. That's the impression that they are projecting. And the fact is that the crisis is man-made. The United States has defaulted on gold, and therefore the whole world had to get away from gold, give up gold, and go to paper money, in particular the dollar. That's the explanation. What happened? Why? In 1971, a process started which is now accelerating and is going to end in a great catastrophe. Well, it's a complete abstraction. It has never happened, and it's not going to happen. And our present experience shows that you have to have confidence. Without confidence, money doesn't work. And if people trust gold more than electronic blips on the screen or with printed paper, well, you have to change people to make your dreams real. But it's not going to work. You have to start from confidence, which people have to have. And the governments have been destroying that confidence over the past 40 years. There's just no confidence in the world in money as we have it now. Well, these have been tried and it doesn't work. All these ideas have been tried and we are still, and the problem is the exponential explosion of debt. So what solution do they have for it? More debt. And the problem doesn't get better, well then even more debt. That's what's going on. But if your medicine doesn't work and makes the patient even sicker, then you have to find something different. But they're not doing that. That's all they know, and how to print more money. I don't think so. A much better idea would be to keep the euro but make it gold convertible. In the 19th century, to be precise, in 1866, there was something called the Latin Monetary Union, and it was started by France, Switzerland, Belgium, and I guess Italy as well. And what this monetary union was, a common currency, but it was gold, pure gold currency. Only the heads were different because the Italians put the portrait of the Italian king, the French put uh, Napoleon III, and the Swiss put Helvetia. It's an imaginary figure representing Switzerland. And the Belgian king was on the Belgian coins. And the names were also different. Italians called it lira, the French and the Swiss and the Belgians called it franc. And later Greece joined and they called it drachma. So, but it was the same gold coin. I think that's what they should do. Turn the euro into a gold coin, which could be the same as these gold coins were.
Okay.
There are still a lot of 20 franc gold coins in the country. I think they are called Napoleon. But so it would be very simple to declare 1 euro the same as the 20 franc gold piece. Well, all right. So that's a technical problem, but I'm really speaking hypothetically that if you want a solution, it should be found in this direction, that you should go back to the model of the Latin monetary union. And that would save the situation in Greece, in France, in Italy, in Spain, in Portugal, in Ireland, in all these countries. If there was a solid gold coin, which is common to all these countries. This is just a rough estimate. 1 year it could have been more, 1 year next year could have been less, but there was a steady increase in general wealth and welfare. There was no extreme moves.
Okay.
And the same is for prices, and the same is for interest rates. There was no extreme volatility. There was an even growth, and you could rely on it. Today, there is no such thing. We are exposed to extremes.
Mhm.
Well, they don't even allow the idea to be discussed. I mean, every time I'm trying to uh, explain the advantages, I'm rebuffed. I have important sponsors in the United Kingdom, who would like me to go from university to university and discuss the problem so that the young generation would understand. Don't forget that the last generation in Britain who has seen and used gold coins for purchases was 1914. It's almost 100 years ago. So in between there were three generations of people who have never seen it, and they don't even know. They can't imagine what it means. So when my sponsors in the UK, United Kingdom, wanted me to do that, university after university would say, now look, we are serious people. We are interested in real research. We are not interested in researching dreams and fairy tales. We want to stick to reality, and we don't want a flight of imagination. This was the response. So, in other words, they physically prevent the idea to be discussed. And in addition to that, there was no possibility for the people interested in gold to study the real story, what has happened, how the situation evolved, and as a consequence, the general level of ignorance out there is very, very high. So it looks that here is somebody coming out from nowhere and telling us what we have been told by the government, by the churches, by the universities, financial journalists, and so on, that gold is passé. It's finished. It's a barbarous relic. And therefore, I may look to you as somebody who is just getting his information from nowhere and trying to project it out, which is really not the case, because there has been so much misinformation pumped out into the world. That is the cause of this general ignorance about gold. Oh, that is true.
Do you think it's true?
No, I am sure. It's well known, because the gold in Fort Knox came from melted gold coins. President Roosevelt in 1933 confiscated the gold coins. People were forced to surrender their gold coins to the government. It was confiscation. The communist government of Russia confiscated all businesses and all wealth. President Roosevelt only confiscated gold. Now, all these gold coins were collected and melted down, every one of them, and made bars out of. Now, the gold coins are never 24 carats, or you didn't used to be 24 carat, because that's too soft, wears easily. So they added copper. So it was only 22 carat. And as a consequence, these gold bars in Fort Knox, if they are still there, were 22-karat gold. That's common knowledge. That the American government doesn't deny that. That's a different story. It could be a rumor, but there may be some to it. It's certainly very suspicious that the American government did not allow uh, an audit, which is checking that the records agree with the actual gold holdings. They have never allowed it. I mean, every bank gets audited every year, and most major firms have to have an auditing from time to time. You know, I don't know the answer to the question, but I can certainly say this is very suspicious, and the behavior of the government is neurotic for no reason at all. If there's nothing to hide, they should just allow this auditing to take place. But I think it was the other way around.
Okay.
They started with full-bodied gold coins and
Yes,
started diluting it, adding more and more copper to it, and the same happened to the silver coinage. So this was diluting money, just like money is being diluted today when they're printing more. And it was based on the misinformation. They wanted people to believe that they were full-bodied coins, but they were fake coins in a way.